my neighbor's house, like 2 houses away, about a month ago, caught on fire. He comes walking out of his house with a bottle of Get Shit Done that the lid was melted on, and he was so happy that that survived.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of I Know This Guy, the podcast where we dive deep into the lives of some of the most interesting people I know. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to I Know This Guy wherever you get your podcasts. By the way, my kids want me to say something about ringing a bell. What the hell's a bell? So welcome, Frank.
Hey Norm, how you been, brother?
I've been doing great. And you know what? This is a first. You go to my barber.
Man, he's awesome. Never misses a hair.
So I get to say it this time because I hear it all the time, right? But what an awesome beard. And yours beats out mine, by the way.
I don't know about that. We'll just call it, man, it's all good. We're both.
Uh-oh. So how you been? I haven't seen you in a little while.
You know, it's just life. So for me, my journey in entrepreneurship got started in the brick and mortar world. So that still pays the bills, and I still have to put my feet on the ground and put my hands to work to kind of, feed everything else.
So why don't we start there? Like, who's Frank Sell? And if you don't know Frank, he's an incredible guy. And tell me, Frank, like, how did Frank Sell become Frank Sell?
So growing up, my dad was self-employed. He started his first business in '77. And so growing up, that's all I really knew was just go out and get shit done. It doesn't matter whatever happens, just go get it done. And so, like in high school and school, I knew that a higher education was not a good investment for me. So I better teach my hands a trade. And so, growing up in that self-employment environment, my dad was a mechanic. He worked on semis and tractors. It's what can I teach my hands to do to go out and earn an income? And so, that's what I did. I learned how to weld, and I went out and I got a job welding. And Valentine's Day, 1994, was when I started the last job that I had. And it was kind of like the agreement that it was the foundation that we learned back in the 1900s. Norm, you and I are probably about one of the last generations that heard go out and get an education, get a career, and put your 30 or 40 years in, and get a pension retirement. Well, that all came crashing down on me. And with NAFTA back in the 90s, jobs started disappearing. The company sold. They got sold to another company, and they changed the deal on us. So when I started there, Valentine's Day, 1994, I was 18 years old, just ready, just to hustle and one of the shining things for me was they had a 30-year retirement program. And so I was all happy to show up and do what I needed to do for 30 years, retire at 48. I thought that was awesome. And it's scary. That's only 3 years away. And so, I did my part of the agreement. I showed up and I worked really hard. And somebody changed the deal on me without my permission, without my knowledge. And that was kind of my epiphany bridge moment that I had an option of either accept what they're going to give to me, or to own my sovereignty, my own personal power, and decide to do something. And so that's what I made the decision to. I bought a $100 VHS tape to teach my hands a new trade. And then I taught myself, and I quit my job, and I beat the damn streets so hard, I swear I'll get a bill for the potholes someday.
We're going to stop it there because that was your quote. We ask everybody at the beginning of the episode to provide a quote. So why don't we touch on that?
Man, it's, I wish everybody was blessed with the level of ignorance that I have and had. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so when I bought that videotape, and I just thought I had to learn a trade and just go out and start hustling. So what happened is I bought this videotape, and I would spend hours, kind of teaching myself, practicing on parts. And so this company, when the new owners took ownership, they started having layoffs and they changed all kinds of things. And so I got to a point where I volunteered for a layoff, and what happened is I had some friends in the industries. I know a guy kind of thing, and he said, "Hey, there's some work down here in Dallas, and I'm in Central Kansas. That's about a 6-hour drive." And so I go and I volunteer for this layoff, and I drive to Dallas, and I get there, and he's like, "Well, sorry, man. So and so's brother is going to do this. Help us out." And I said, "Hey, that's no problem. Who else do you know that I could go work for or go help?" So he recommends somebody, and I go and see them. And at this time, I wasn't even in the trade yet. I was in kind of like an accessory. I was taking the cars apart. I wasn't actually fixing the hail damage. And so I went to this other guy, and I started helping him taking the cars apart. And I had some extra time. Me just full of piss and vinegar and excited, like, "Hey, I bought this video, man. I taught myself how to, I can fix some of these dents." And he's like, "Okay, go ahead and do some of the small stuff. We'll see how what you can do." And so I did that, and he explained to me, he's like, "Dude, you're good enough to do this for a living. Why aren't you doing it?" And so it's kind of like most of us. I was waiting for permission. You see, I had this friend that has an ego like most of us, and he's like, "You're not really good enough. You got to be trained." But this other guy was like, "You're good enough. Just go do it." And so I called my buddy back and I said, "Hey, you know what? I've been doing some work for our mutual friend. He said that I'm pretty good, and so why don't I come help you guys?" And he just kind of laughed and said, "That'd be too much like training you." And I said, "Okay, no problem." I hung up the phone, and the next day I drove home 6 hours, and literally, back then we had the yellow pages, and I looked up in the yellow pages, and kind of like the Grant Cardone, who's got my money? Who can I go serve? Who can I trade my value for their money? And I just started looking for body shops and dealerships, and literally I would look at them, call them up, and just say, "Who do I talk to about such and such service?" And I would go see them, and I would meet them, and then I would just keep going back and back and back until they told me not to come back. And even then, I would come back.
Sounds like your buddies were the voice of your conscience, the good guy and the bad guy. The battle begins.
Yeah, exactly.
And luckily you went with the good guy. Tell us more. So what happened? You ended up looking through the yellow pages, and then what?
I didn't know this was cold calling or sales. All I knew is I had to feed my family. I had a child, my first child on the way. And so I would literally, pick up the phone, and I would go visit people and just start going door to door. And eventually, I'd pick up business, and from that, I got experience. And now that I've been in the industry almost 20 years, I realized how little I knew. I thought just learning the trade was enough. And so it resonates with Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, that most people start in a business because they're a tradesman and they think they want to be the owner. And so what Michael Gerber says is that you have to be the tradesman, you have to be the entrepreneur, and then the manager. And so like I didn't know how much to charge, nothing. I didn't have, all I knew is I just go out and get business, and if they were happy with it, I was happy with it. And through the process, I got to learn the value of what I was doing, and my focus was constantly on quality, not quantity, so that I knew if I had a better quality product, then I could ask for more money.
Yeah, it's interesting how I was listening to you when you were describing that voice again. And if I go back to it, and how many people out there were affected by that jerk that said you weren't good enough, and they weren't strong enough, or they didn't realize that they could push forward and be an incredible individual at whatever they're doing. But just because they hear that negative, that they stop what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So now, what do you like? Do you have anything to add to that? Like those people that are on the fence right now, that are, we're talking during the COVID virus right now.
Uh-huh.
So there's millions and millions and millions of people unemployed, and they don't know what to do to put bread on their table. So, any advice?
Yeah, a couple things I've learned from there is that, you know, God is my supply, and my supply is abundant. I used to think that I was so good that I got all this business, but then I look at the business, I look at it, and like I'm in the hail damage repair business. I did not create the hail, and so all this, the business that was coming in came from somewhere. And the second thing is that God honors commitment. A lot of people decide, but they never move their feet. And so, once I started moving my feet, the next steps became clear. And the more experience I got, I learned how to have better vision, how to ask better questions, and how to see things better down, in what I was doing.
You mentioned about not you didn't know how to charge.
Yeah.
Um, so you had no idea about what to charge. Was that because you had a lack of confidence, or you were just not? You didn't know what you could charge.
I had no awareness. I was literally just going by the seat of my pants, like, well, hey, how does $50 sound for that? And they're like, yes or no. And I just learned on the go.
So now, if somebody looks at you bewildered, you just jack the price up.
Oh no, no! I come in high. You can always come down, but it's hard to go up.
All right, okay. So after, so you were in the, you were a mechanic in the hail restoration business.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like your body work.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
So after that, what did you end up? Where did you end up going, or what did you do?
It started with my purpose, my group called Armored Up Man, and the realization that I'm not only a man, I'm a father, and so that means there's a certain level of responsibility, and so in life, like no matter what it is, the money that I want or the wife that I want, whatever, it takes a certain level of thought process or maturity, and so I literally, if I break my pinky, I'm out of business. I can't earn an income. And so I need to find some way to produce income or revenues or cash flow than with my hands. And so I started to dabble in like network marketing, and that taught me a lot about personal relationships and growing myself personally. But it also taught me that energy is finite, and I can either help build somebody else's business or I can help build my own brand. And so some guys and I got together and we started a Facebook show called Home of the Hustle. And literally, what my thought process was is, okay, I want to build a product or a brand or something I didn't really know at the time. But there's a lot of things that I don't know. And so I would go out and find guys like yourself that were great, had results, number one, in marketing or branding or something. And then we'd interview them on a show like this. And it built, relation and reputation through doing that and through association. But it also, it helped me learn the things that I needed to learn to grow a brand, ask better questions in marketing and all that stuff.
Armored Up Man, where can people join that? And the group, what are you talking about? Is it a regular group? Is it a Facebook group? I did a little bit of research on this, and I just wanted to know if you can give us a bit more information. It sounds fascinating, by the way.
Yeah, the group is on Facebook, and that came through just honoring the process. Through the people that I met on Home of the Hustle, they convinced me to go ahead and start my own brand, which was Baby Beard Club originally, and it still is. And through that, I was going to some other networking events, some social media influencers, and so on. And I met some guys like Sean Whalen and Ryan Mickler that have kind of personal development or men type groups. And I was sitting in the bleachers, and I was literally like, like these guys are just sharing their story, and I know my story and how much power is behind my story. And I, going back to that March 9th, 2013, I felt like I'd been equipped with armor. And so I just went to GoDaddy and looked up Armored Up Man, and it was available. And so I bought it, and it really resonated with here. I have this beard oil business, which and it resonates with this commitment, with this purpose of helping men understand who's thinking they're thinking. Because generationally, society, we get all this stinking thinking projected onto us, and we never stop and quiet the noise and say, man, is this how I really feel? Is this what I really want in my life? And so, sitting there in those bleachers, I bought Armored Up Man. Then I went to Facebook and Instagram and stuff and got all the, the @ Armored Up Man and all that. And, from there, I just I just kind of say, okay, what's the next step? I know it's going to be presented to me. I just have to have the patience and the pause to sit here and say, okay, I know I've got all these lessons. Life is whip, it's equipping me, not whipping me. Um, so what can I do with these tools? And here I have this business that as I can grow this business, well, then I can also market my message, on a bigger scale to men to say, man, what you do in life matters.
I was wondering, like you said, there was a shift in your idea of what being a man is or what manhood is. Like, could you maybe talk a little bit about that? Like, how did your perspective change on what it means to be a good man, or yeah,
Yeah,
kind of that journey of self improvement?
yeah. So the latest definition, it was that March 9th, 2013. I had the awareness. Is basically what you say. I gave my life to Christ, and the Bible will tell you this, and science will tell you the same thing. Nothing in nature can exist in a vacuum, void. It has to be filled with something. And so what the Bible says about that is, if you repent, you change your ways, you decide you want something different. Well, it's basically what they would say. That's where the devil was hanging out. You kicked him out. You evicted him, and that's where people say, you give people free rent in your mind. And so what that means is that, okay, I've created this void, and so I just instinctually I called a personal family friend that they were successful in their family, in their spiritual life, in their wealth creation. I said, man, I just accepted Christ in my life. I don't know what to do next. What do I do? And so he said, man, it's welcome. Let me help you. And so he started suggesting books, and he started suggesting ways to interpret and read the Bible, and then books, the peripheral books outside of that, so that you kind of get a better discernment, understanding of what is actually meant, not what's just written. And so through that, I started equipping myself with this armor of what I feel a true man is, and along the way is that we've lost the true meaning of a meek man, a meek person. The children and the meek shall inherit the earth. And what that goes back to in the biblical context is a meek man at that time. He was equipped for war, but he preferred peace. He was strong. He knew how to fight. He knew how to kill, but he preferred peace. And so for me, I just been a big baby, a big boy with a, going around with a temper and all this stuff, and trying to, you know, get my way by manipulation and by force instead of leading with love and influence.
So is the group, is it a spiritual group, or is it where anybody, regardless of religion, can join and take part?
Yeah, anybody can take part. It's not, you know, that's what it means to me. If you want to worship whatever, whoever, that's up to you. I don't care. What's that saying? You know, teach Christ and use words if you have to. Watch what I do, not what I say.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. There's a lot of good people out there that, just don't have any groups to follow,
Mm-hmm.
and they just don't know yet. But I appreciate that group. I remember we were sitting down when we first met. You were sitting beside me at a table, and we had an incredible nonstop talk for about, I don't know, it was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, and got to know each other after that. And I walked away from there just feeling energized, like I got to grow my beard just like you. But no, I mean, just listening to your passion and what you're all about, it's incredible. And you know, this kind of leads me to my next question: is how did Baby Beard Club come about?
Okay, so going through the home of the hustle, I start following different people on Facebook for marketing and different stuff, and fall onto the click funnels and different things. And I started watching all the on Facebook, all the ads for all the beard oil companies, and it was I think Dollar Beard Club or something like that, and they're all about the flannel shirts, the skinny pants, and all the fake machismo crap, manhood. I'm like, dude, that ain't manhood. And so I was like, what's the total opposite of that? I was like, well, baby beard. So I went to GoDaddy and bought Baby Beard Club for $1. And I had the domain for about 6 months. And then a buddy of mine, I started growing my beard. And my partner at the time, she was like, "Hey, I don't want you to go buy something. I want to, because all the perfumes and stuff in it. So I'd rather make it." And so she made this product for me. And the first night I used it, dude, I slept like no other. I mean, I slept really good. And I asked her what happened, and she said, "Well, it's probably the essential oils that I put in it." And I was like, "Oh, so it's like a facial diffuser, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." And I tell another friend of mine that's a really a solid marketer. He's like, "Dude, that's a great idea. You should do something with that." It's like, "Okay, what do I do?" And so here I had this domain, then I had a product, and then it's like, "Okay, let's start putting these pieces together." And so it's a multi-dollar business. It doesn't make me an incredible amount of money, but it's a multi-million-dollar brand. And so I don't know how I did these things, other than I just know really talented people. Um, but everybody tells me that it's just it's the brand looks really good.
You've done an incredible job with the brand. Everything is consistent, And by the way, I tried out the lavender. What was the name of it? Lights
Lights
Out.
out, yeah.
It works. If you have trouble sleeping, if you don't have a beard, just rub it all over your face.
Yeah.
I mean,
Amazing story. I wish I had the prop here with me, the bottle of oil. But a neighbor's house, like 2 houses away, about a month ago, caught on fire. And so, like the next day, I went and bought a gift card at the local grocery store. So, like, man, if your house burned up, you probably need some food and supplies and so on. And so I go over there, and I hadn't met the guy yet. We've lived here in this house for 6, 7 months, and I hadn't actually met him yet. And as I'm pulling up and I'm walking up his driveway, he comes walking out of his house with a bottle of Get Shit Done that the lid was melted on, and he was so happy that survived. He was a local customer, and like he was just floored. He recognized me, but and I walked up there, and he's like, "Man, I'm so happy that this bottle, it was underneath the towel and it survived, and there's still oil in it." I was like, "Hey, bro, I'll be back in a minute with some more oil and a shirt for you." So I had the bottle with the melted cap on it.
Oh, what a story. Oh my gosh.
What taught me though is that what we're doing is it's more, and it goes back to that permission statement at the beginning. You don't know who's watching you. You're just waiting for permission to be great or to get shit done. So this bottle of oil meant more than a shiny beard or a healthy beard to this guy. And so that was a moment, another epiphany moment, that what we do really matters.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, commend you. I don't have to say this, but just being able to go and get a gift card for food. You don't know the person. You walk down your driveway. I mean, that just oozes Frank Sell. So
thank you
once again. Thank you for being you.
And Dad, I mean, I know you're kind of known for saying this, but talking about perceived value of brand and products, like, I mean, what does it take to get a product or a brand where like people care that much, or like it's not only a product they use, but it's like it really improves the way they walk down the street. Like if you're wearing that beard oil, you feel good, you want to do more, you put yourself out in the world. Like, what does it take to like come up with a product like that, rather than just an average facial product or something where it's just you can tell like there wasn't much thought maybe behind it or something. Like, can you talk about, either of you, like what does it mean to have that higher value or like standing behind a product that means that much to you and your customers?
So I was doing a podcast once, and while I was on the podcast, I had a beard brush that came in and some beard balm. So somebody had sent me this to try out. Well, obviously they they never checked it out. They didn't care what it looked like. The package came in a burlap sack, which was nice, but it smelled like crap. It really did. And then when I pulled it out, the bristles from the paint, all the paint chips were that you couldn't use the brush. Like you literally just tossed the brush because it was crap. So then I thought, okay, well, here's some beard balm. I put it on. I went upstairs. I'm not joking. I go to hug my wife, and she pushes me away, and she goes, you smell like crap. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you smell like rotten fish. And I smell my beard. The beard balm had gone rancid.
Oh man.
But it smelled like, at first, I could smell a hint of sandalwood or whatever it was. But by the time I got upstairs, it oozed into rotting salmon and I couldn't smell it.
That's not a good
But
look.
perceived value, it's not a good, I don't think, you could ever sell rotting salmon, baby oil or baby beard oil. But you're again, going back to brand. I mean, that perception of baby beard oil, it's all about quality. If you take a look behind you, we'll get into that in a second, but you are the brand. I try to tell people about, you have to live your brand, and you do. I mean, the quality of the product, the consistency of the product brand, and how you're expanding the brand. Um, like Hayden was saying, for a guy to walk down his driveway and happy, like, just that his beard oil didn't get wrecked. I mean, that must have been something for you.
Yeah, it wasn't until probably a day later that it really resonated with me. And something that I think carried through from that first business, the hair repair business, is that just focusing on quality and the quantity will come once my experience gets catches up to that, and then we can kind of demand the sales, or our our reputation precedes us in a good way, that things just happen naturally.
Right. So I see in the back, you've got, it looks like coffee. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Um, okay, so through social media and through networking, I met some guys in Wichita, which is about 30, 40 minutes away from here, and they're bearded guys, and they just liked our brand, and so they were buying beard oil from me, and I love coffee, and so as a consumer, I was buying coffee from them. And one day, I ordered some stickers like this. This is the prop that I was telling Norm about. I ordered some of these stickers, but I also ordered coffee on the same day, and my coffee and these stickers came in at the same time. So I don't know. And so I took one of these stickers and I put it on a bag of their coffee that they sent me, and I posted it on Facebook, and then everybody's like, "Is that Get Shit Done coffee? That's great. How do I buy it?" I'm like, "Hold on a minute." And I just went and put it on my Shopify store real quick and started selling. I started selling their coffee, and they were like, "Dude, that's so awesome. How much do you want?" um, and so since then, I took the approach of the essential oils. And so what we do is, we call it essential brew. And I saw that nobody in the marketplace is doing this, kind of like with our beard oil. I put a few drops of essential oil in the coffee in the bottom of the bag, so that as you're brewing the coffee, you have a little bit of orange and peppermint aroma mixed with kind of like the chocolate flavor of the coffee. So like your nose kind of smells orange and peppermint, but you taste the chocolatey coffee. And so, I mean, so far everybody loves it, and it's another way for me to just kind of promote the message. Like, for me, it's like make America grind again. That's why a play on MAGA and what's happening in the world. And it lines up. It just resonates with my story of beat the street so hard. You get a bill for the potholes. It says that on the bag. So everything just kind of fit, and so I decided to put energy and effort behind the brand and the way it looks and feels. Everything is in great alignment. So now I'm just in a position. I'm back in that patience in the pause, and just kind of have some awareness of who is the right partner, because there's so many things that I don't know about growing the brand. I know about the messaging and who the hell I am. So have a little bit of patience in the pause, because like most people in online marketing, man, you can spend so much money so fast on this genius that can make you blow up. It's silly.
Yeah, and then you go under with a great idea.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So yeah, but that is genius.
Thank you.
Make America grind again.
Yeah, and I forgot I even had this, but I use one of the domains as the Home of the Hustle Facebook show. I have homeofthehustle.com. So we're setting up a Shopify store on that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Uh, any uh, any hints on any new products?
Um,
The next big product?
yeah, it's not in the physical product world. It's going back to some concepts from the book Acres of Diamonds, Russell Conwell. He talks about so many of us, we don't look at what we're already doing and extract all the value out of it. And so going back to my original endeavor of fixing hail damage, I've been doing this almost 20 years, and there's so much experience and knowledge. And so it's kind of like the gold rush, where people that made money were selling picks and shovels, not necessarily people that were digging the gold. And so now I'm working on training people in that industry, through that. And then I set up a website that I wanted to create what I call the Angie's List of hail repairs. So I set up localhailrepair.com as kind of a monogamous it's a site that can be used anywhere in the nation or world as kind of like a lead generation and an education platform to bring people in to the industry.
That's what I like to hear. So every entrepreneur that I ever talk to, they don't have one thing on the go or two or three or four. I mean, it's just ongoing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Well, really best of luck for any of those. And one of the things that I see that could be an incredible it could be an incredible revenue stream is your get shit done or your quotes, right?
Uh-huh.
Your merchandise.
Yeah.
Like just on coffee mugs and on t-shirts and on hats. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's a site out there. Have you ever heard of despair.com?
No.
The guy took a spin on all those motivational quotes, the big posters,
Mhm.
desire, and then, well, he took it and he did it on demotivational quotes. If you ever get a chance, take a look at the guy's website. I forget his name, but he's got a couple of viral videos that went out there, but it's absolutely just demotivation. And that's what he's built his business on. And all he's making, he just makes money on merchandise.
Uh-huh.
I can see with all these quotes and just the quality and you being the face of the company, just merchandising the heck out of it.
Yeah, and that's why it just came to me today to use that home of the hustle, because it kind of it's the scope of that is exactly what you're saying. So like Jay Abraham's always talking about, you can either go find more customers, you can drive your costs down, or you can sell your current customers more stuff. And so with the coffee, if you drink a coffee, well, you're probably going to drink it out of a mug. If you're drinking it in a mug, you're probably wearing a shirt. So how many more things are people already buying that I can sell them?
Right. Yeah. Great idea. So what has been in your mind, what's been your biggest success?
My kids loving me. My kids they'll be anywhere with anyone. And when they get off the phone, they're like, "I love you, Dad," in front of their friends.
Oh, that's cool. How old are they?
My daughter Madison is 16, and Franco Cinco, Frank Self, the fifth, he's 15.
Wow.
So we call him
for them to do that.
Yeah, we call
F5.
F5. Yeah, we call him FJ, Frank Jr.
Okay. Man, you're the first person I know that had 5 Franks. Oh my, or 5 anything.
Yeah,
I usually get up to the 3s.
Right. I can't get away. Legacy is right there in my face. So I'll tell you a story real quick that lines up with Armored Up Man and just kind of this whole story. So one day my son, he comes home from school, and the teachers called us, the principal called us, said, "Hey, your boy stole something. He stole something from a teacher." And so, a lot of times, for me growing up, I was parented with manipulation and just overbearing. And so what my duty is to help equip my children with the thinking, because the thinking is the inheritance. And so I go into my son and I ask him, I said, "Hey, school called us, such and such happened. And so I want to ask you a question." I said, what is your name? And he says, "Well, it's Frank." And I said, "Okay, what is my dad's name?" And he says, "Well, Papa." I said, "No, what's his name?" He says, "Frank." And I said, "Okay, so what's my name?" And he says, "Frank." I said, "Okay, So tell me this: if somebody says that Frank Sell is a liar and a thief, who are they talking about? Me, Papa, or you? And he literally instantly went to tears because the gravity of who we are hit him. And so that's just one of the things that I encourage people to learn who's thinking you're thinking, because you can help break the generational curses and generational patterns in your lives.
I bet you that stopped right away.
Yeah.
At his home. That's a pretty strong statement. So let's go the other way. What's been your biggest failure? How did it happen? And what did you learn from it?
That's probably most recently. I would say getting a divorce. And the divorce wasn't the failure. The failure was my thinking, not being clear in the beginning and not listening to my intuition. Uh, but apparently, like I just made a post on social media today that you're going to find the same person in different people until you heal what needed that person. And so, I've recently learned how to have gratitude for that and forgiveness for myself and forgiveness for them. Saying, man, I honor you for putting up with me and helping me through this process. But I'm no longer who you need me to be to validate certain behavior, and you're no longer who I need to be. And just coming to that process and all that, here I am an armored up man, but realizing what sometimes if everybody's not willing to grow with you, then they just can't have room in your life.
One of the things I always like to do at the end is just kind of pass the torch. So I know a guy, his name's Frank Sell. Do you know a guy that you might be able to bring onto the show?
Oh, absolutely. I got tons of guys. I'll reach out to Josh Felber Ventures. He'd be a great guy to come on here. Him and his wife have Primal Life Organics, like health, tooth, facial products, and so on. Really, really solid guy.
Fantastic. So, Frank, just before we end the show, how do people get a hold of you?
Ways, it's just through book or social media, whatever. Anywhere at Armored Up Man or Frank Sell. Those are going to be the best ways. Or babybeardclub.com. You can shoot me an email through there.
All right, sir. Well, we've been talking with Frank Sell, Preneur Extraordinaire. Thank you, sir, for coming on to the show. And I'm going to continue to buy your baby beard oil. I love it. And congrats on everything that you do.
Thank you. It's totally my honor.
Hey, guys and gals, thanks for listening. For more great content, please like, subscribe, and follow I Know This Guy on all social media platforms. I Know This Guy relies on listeners like you. Please visit our Patreon page to find out how you can help.